I mean, what a day you've had, right? Fantastic. And what a great conference this has been. Boy, oh boy, I've been watching it on TV and listening to it on the radio, hearing it filtered through the mainstream media. Even they're amazed by this great conference. And it's really because of you. And what a delight it is to be here with Carly. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Arthur. How are you?
Great, great. You've been...
One of the movement's best right here. Absolutely.
Thank you. You know, over the past year, you've gotten kind of used to giving talks to groups of people who are enthusiastic, people who are trying to change the country, and what a year it's been. It was a great time of satisfaction and celebration for everybody in this audience, the House, the Senate, the White House. Holy cow.
Not to mention governorships, state houses.
It's incredible.
We've won up and down the board.
It's incredible.
Across the country.
So here's my first question. What do we do now? We won. Now what?
Oh, we'll start with an easy one, Arthur. You know, one of the things that I often said during the campaign is I think most people actually agree with us. They just don't know it yet in some cases. It's why, you know, it's why I would go on to shows like The View. Not because that's necessarily an audience that thinks they agree with our principles, but because if you get it right down to the core of what we believe and what we're trying to accomplish, I think most people agree. I am going to answer your question. The other thing that I would say is most people aren't like you. When I say that, I mean this. Most people don't show up at political action conferences. Most people actually aren't deeply political every single day. They're just trying to do the best they can every day in their lives. And I think that common human experience gives us a clue as to what we need to do. So what do we believe? We believe that no one of us is any better than any other one of us, that every life has value and potential and meaning, and that we therefore have to lift everyone up and treat everyone with respect. We also believe people aren't defined by their circumstances or their appearances, that we have to respect people who disagree with us even. We believe that most problems are better solved by the people who are impacted by those problems. Communities, families, businesses, states. And we also believe that you concentrate too much power too long in too few hands, no matter whose hands, that power is going to be abused.
A true conservative principle, Carly. Amazing. You know, here's the big takeaway, folks, from what I'm hearing so far. Now that conservatives have won, they need to learn to persuade people who don't agree with us yet. How do you do that? You know, I do a lot of speaking at conservative events, of course, and about a year ago, I was talking at a very conservative event of people I really, really admire a lot. And I said, if we want to persuade people, let's remember that people who don't agree with us, specifically progressives, liberals, they're not all stupid and evil, right? And this lady puts up her hand and she says, actually, I think they're stupid and evil, right? Yeah, wait. So, okay, so what was I thinking at that point? Number one, politics is supposed to be the art of persuasion, right? I mean, none of you have ever been insulted into agreement by a liberal, guaranteed, right? But here's what I was really thinking. So I grew up in Seattle, Washington, in a progressive family, which is redundant. And when that lady, God bless her, when she said that, I was thinking of my family. And they're actually not stupid and they're not evil. They're not right on a lot of political stuff, in my view. And you know, this is what I thought. And so here's really my question for the victors, you. How many of you love someone with whom you disagree politically? That's like 100%, guys.
That's right.
When somebody on our side says that the other side is stupid and evil, think of your sister-in-law. Think of your niece. Take it personally, and that's the beginning of persuasion, isn't it? That's the beginning of a winsome movement.
You know, one of the things that I admire so much about Arthur is he, if you've never read his story of how he came to believe what he believes, read it sometime. Because he was just a guy living his life, and he thought he knew what he thought. And then life intervened. And that's how I learned my principles. I was just out there doing my job, living my life, and I discovered over and over and over, wow, people that I maybe would have overlooked had a tremendous idea, or they have huge value in solving a problem, or wow, you put too much power in the hands of some bureaucrat somewhere, happens in business too, that power is going to be abused. You're talking about persuasion, it's so important. Look, let's face it, hey, a good fight is fun, right? A good fight is fun. Hey, I can, you guys know, I can land a punch, okay?
Boy, is that true.
And it's fun, right? So it's fun to have a fight, and it's really fun to have a fight when you win, but to the point, now that we've won, it's important that we bring people along. Why is that important? It's not just important philosophically. It's not just important that we persuade because we actually believe that everybody has value. We want to lift everyone up regardless of their circumstances or their opinions. It's not just that. We have to persuade now for practical reasons. Here's the thing about change, and let's face it, we now have an opportunity. The administration, governors, state houses all across the country have an opportunity for real change, important change, to hopefully take money and power outside of Washington, D.C. and return it to where it belongs, to communities and families and businesses and states. But here's the thing about change. No matter when it happens or how it happens, substantial change inspires substantial resistance. It is the nature of change. And boy, is there substantial resistance out there. The thing is, unless change is accompanied by growing support, the substantial change is never sustained. And if you doubt that, think about Obamacare. Obamacare was a big, substantial change, and guess what? The Democrats didn't take the time to build support. They never thought about building a bipartisan coalition and actually compromising and coming to a plan that people could support. And so guess what? It was substantial change, and it will not be sustained. Because that substantial change inspired substantial resistance. Yes, ma'am, thank goodness. Thank goodness. But we have to bring people along now, so that the changes that we all believe in will be sustained.
You know, this really, we're at this point in the conversation now where we're talking about, you know, we started off with, we won, now what? The why of victory is a really interesting thing. You know, we're given victory because conservatives are given victory because conservatives did the work in a bunch of campaigns, did the work to actually get people out to vote. That's fantastic. But then you got to ask yourself, why is that actually important? You know, why is it important? What was the message that people were giving to every single activist in this room and every single conservative leader on this stage? What's that all about, right? And that's an important question, right? Because I think we know the answer. Each one of us knows the answer. We won because Americans need us. We are the stewards of what Americans actually need. You know, about a third of Americans believe that the free enterprise system has left them behind. That's a very dangerous situation in this country. The free enterprise system, democratic capitalism, is the only system in human history that has wiped out poverty among people by the billions. And every single person in this room knows that.
Right.
But here's the threat, my friends. A third of Americans believe that the American free enterprise system is failing them. They believe that this country is not going to provide a better future for their children. Now, it's paradoxical, isn't it? It's not like people voted for big majorities in state and local governments around the country and given the House and the Senate to the Republicans and the White House to a Republican because they said free enterprise is just peachy. On the contrary, They're skeptical about how this system is going to work. And that means, you know who they need? They need you. Because you understand the power of capitalism. You understand the power of American leadership around the world. You get it. And so America needs you to bring this country back in an aspirational way. And the people who need you the most are the people who are being left behind. Question for all of us, what are we going to do to turn a big election victory into a massive sweeping mandate for public good? And we don't quite have the answers to that one yet, right? We got to look into our hearts, and we have to hold our leaders accountable for that. So what do we do next, Carly?
You know, one of the things that you learn when you talk to lots of people is Tip O'Neill was almost right when he said all politics is local. But in truth, all politics is personal. People make decisions based on what's going on in their personal lives. And sometimes I think that we talk in big ideas. Free market capitalism, limited government. They're big ideas, but they don't always land in somebody's life. So let me take the story that Arthur just told us. Of course, he's absolutely right. There's only one system in the world that has lifted billions and billions of people out of poverty. Now let me put it in really personal terms. I was in New Delhi, India, a couple years ago. I was chairman of an organization called Opportunity International, largest private microfinance organization in the world. Microfinance is giving very poor people credit so that they can become entrepreneurs, and giving them tools and training and support. And I went to the top of a roof in the slums of New Delhi. If you've never been to the slums of New Delhi, they are the grimmest places you will ever see. And I sat down on the top of that roof with 10 women to whom we had given credit and training and tools and support to talk with them. And I didn't see desperation in their eyes, although their circumstances were desperate. I saw hope, focus, determination, and pride, because they were building a life of dignity and purpose. And they were entrepreneurs. They were free market capitalists. They didn't know that's what they were. What they knew, though, was first and foremost, somebody had said to them, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of the desperation all around you, we see you. You have value. You have promise. You have potential. And with a helping hand, which we all need, and with somebody to take a chance on you, which we all need, you can build a life of dignity and purpose and meaning. And they became entrepreneurs, and they put their colleagues and their family members to work. That's free market capitalism. By the way, we ought to have microfinance in this country. And instead of a web of entitlement, wrapped around people's lives, and that's what we've done. We've woven people's lives into webs of entitlement that last for generations. Instead of that, instead of holding people back, we should give people that helping hand. We should take a chance on them, but then we should give them not the money, but the tools, the training, the support, the respect to say, you can build a better life.
Yeah. You know, it's funny how government, thank you. You know, there's nobody in this room, very few people in America, it doesn't matter what your ideology is, who thinks that we should have zero safety net and we should kick Granny out in the snow when she's poor. But here's the problem that I think you're getting at, Carly, and here's the problem that we're all faced with in this country. You know, we have a social safety net. We have big government programs that have rendered people useless, that have rendered them superfluous to our society. Isn't that what the safety net does sometimes? And here's what we need to do. And here's, I think, the authentic moment of real utility for conservatives today. Here's what I think. I think here's why we're going to have political power. We understand by our ideology that the nature of dignity and purpose and meaning is not to be helped, but to be needed.
That's right.
You need it. You know, it's the funniest thing when we travel all around the United States and you talk to people who are feeling really desperate and they're feeling really angry and they're just fighting back. They feel that they're not needed. And that's what we can rectify, because the conservative philosophy compared to the liberal philosophy is all about making people needed. You know, when we see a guy without a job, liberals will typically say, we got to help that guy. We say, we need him to work for this country. When you see somebody who, you know, a family that doesn't have a father, you know, the liberal way of looking at it typically is to say, it's, you know, what a shame, we have to help them. We say, no, we need a father to be a father to his kids. We need him. We actually need every father in this country. Think about this. This is really, to make people needed, the essence of what it means to be pro-life, isn't it? You know, I know all of you agree with me that every person is needed from conception until natural death. So let's work our policies now that we have the levers of power. Let's use it as a force for good. Let's use the policies not to help people more, but to need people more. Education that makes people necessary with vocational and technical training and apprenticeships in this country. Everything should work so that people have more jobs, and so they're more necessary in their communities. Education policies that don't render people superfluous, that see people as an asset to society and not as a liability to manage. That should be, in my view, the conservative philosophy, and that, every single one of us in this room, if we do this right, that's going to be our legacy together, and that will make America great again.
You know, all the way back to the beginning, where we said most people aren't political. They don't spend their days in conferences like this. Thank goodness you do. But most people are just trying to do the best they can with their life. And we also said at the beginning, you know, most people actually agree with us. They just may not know it. And sometimes we use kind of big policy terms. See, I think the tests for are we doing what we should be doing to make America great again, I think the tests are really simple. And I think the three things that I'm about to say, virtually everyone will agree with. And they are prescriptive in terms of our policy. So what are the three? Number one, every person, every life has value, purpose, potential, meaning. We need every person to find the purpose and the value and the meaning in their lives. Can that be translated into policy? Absolutely. Second test. Can people solve the problems that impact them or not? And the answer, of course, is yes, they can. The reason we believe in decentralized decision-making and localized problem solving is because it works better. We all learn that in life. You don't have to be political to know that. You know, we lost a daughter to addictions, and I know that there are so many programs that work to treat the epidemic of addiction, but they don't start in Washington, D.C. They're starting in communities, and they need the resources and the empowerment to make those programs work. So every person has value. People actually can solve the problems that impact them. So let's give them the helping hand, the opportunity, the resources to solve those problems. And number three, you concentrate power, you abuse power. Bureaucracies concentrate power, they abuse that power. Our founders wrote the Constitution in large measure to prevent the concentration of power. So we have to be the people that stand for the value of every life, the superiority of problems solved locally in communities, in families, in states, and we have to be the people who stand up and say, no, don't concentrate power. release power, disperse power back to where it belongs. Those are our tests. Those are our tests.
You know, disperse power. Don't you love CPAC where saying disperse power is like an applause line? That's cool, man. And oh man, but let me make one more point. You know, all of you, look, you all raised your hand when I said how many of you love a liberal. Fantastic. When you talk to your liberal friends and you're talking to them about your ideas, and they're very wrapped around the axle about the fact that Republicans did really well in this last election. They're very worried about it. They're very worried about what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. Ask this question. Ask this question. Who won your last school board election locally? They'll be like, I don't know, right? That matters more. That actually matters more. That's a conservative principle, isn't it? But it's also a conservative principle for us. And now I want to say something subversive because we're in Washington, D.C., and we're living through a permanent political reality show of federal politics. Most of you don't live here. I live here, so you don't have to. And let me tell you, you know, what's going on locally is a much more important deal than what's going on here. And so here's something that we can really do to help this country together. Make Washington less important and interesting. Make it less a part of everyday life. You know, it's become this entertainment source for everybody to find out what's going on here. You know, the President of the United States over the past 8 years was a celebrity, almost a king. And that was bad for this country. Let's not make the same mistake. Let's make this country local again. You know, I want us all to admire the people who are in power in Washington. I really want that, and I know you do. But really, I think it would be great if we could go a week and say, I don't know what the heck the president did this week. Wouldn't that be great? That would actually be a conservative America. And maybe, just maybe, we can do that together. What do you think, Carly?
I think that's a great idea. All politics is personal. All politics is personal. Politics is the art of persuasion. Most people agree with us, they just don't know it yet. So let's not talk in policy speak. Let's just remember, every person has value. Doesn't matter their circumstances, doesn't matter their appearance, doesn't matter their opinions. Every person has value and promise and potential. And people can solve the problems that impact them every day if given the opportunity to do so. And power concentrated is power abused. Those are three pretty simple tests. And my guess is 80 to 85, maybe even 90% of the people you meet every day, if you say those three things to them, they're going to say, you know, I agree with that. Hey, you're a conservative. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having us.